What's up, everyone? Bradley Jack Design here. Welcome to a live question and answer demonstration portion, different sort of stream. So we do have a bit of an agenda we're going to talk about. Let me just hop over here so I can just chat with you guys. We don't need Photoshop up right now. So what we've got going on, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and then we can see if anyone has any suggestions on stuff. A lot of these came from Instagram. So we've got things I wish I knew earlier in my career, how to get details in faces, holographic stickers, designing for large print, sort of best practices. Hey Elijah, how's it going? Some camera raw, displacement maps, and then seamless coloring or blending, and then sort of finding the original team colors after doing some camera raw. So we're going to chit chat about some of this stuff. I believe I have answered sort of that question before of things I wish I knew earlier in my career. We've touched base about this a couple times, but I can chit chat about it a little bit more because it won't take too long to talk about. How is everybody doing today? Good afternoon, good evening. If you're from the UK, good morning. So things I wish I knew earlier in my career. This can go for a lot of careers. I wish I would have known I wanted to do sports sooner in my schooling, because I would have gotten a internship and got my foot in the door early, because then I would have had, you sort of get in the pipeline of doing sports design. It's going to help you out. But really just jump in and just make stuff that's sports related. And that's why I started my 365-day project, was to get stuff to be sports related for my portfolio. And I was making all sorts of stuff with that too. One piece of advice I would give young creatives in the sports realm is that, making cool stuff in Photoshop's nice, but maybe mock up other things that are going to be realistic to what you would see a team post. A lot of what people do at sports teams isn't always just flashy stuff on Photoshop. A lot of it can be that, but making templates for a sports team, or designing apparel, designing a shirt, stuff like that. Things you would see, anything you would see at an arena, essentially. Anything that's merch, stuff like that. Just get out of only doing super cool Photoshop hype hero graphics, which I make a lot of those. Everybody makes a lot of those. They're fun to make, but they're not, that's not going to be 100% of what you would do at a sports job. Mainly things I wish I knew earlier. I've touched base on this a couple times, but that's big. If I were doing things over again, I would take advantage of as many internships as I could. Tasted things around when I was younger, and had that more flexibility. Like right now, I have a house in Ohio. I have a wife and family here, so I can't really, go take a risk on some job out in LA. But when you're younger, you have that availability, and I think you should do that. Go taste different sports, different teams and stuff like that. I think people jumping from team to team has a bit of a burden on it, but a lot of people don't really care about that in the sports industry, because I think it's more about your portfolio. And you should have reasons why you hop around. I don't think you should just hop around when, because you're not good at it, or if that's why you're hopping around. If you're choosing to hop around, I think that's okay. Because for instance, we'll use Garrett as an example. I'm 32. Garrett is in his early 20s. Garrett could, and in his early 20s is way ahead of where I was when I was 20 and 21 and 22. I was in college, didn't do anything sports related at all. He's already got clients that are in the sports realm. He's done work before. So the earlier you get started, the better, but make it a variety of stuff that you make. Because Garrett could, fuck up for 8 years and still be ahead of where I was when I started my 365-day project. So, keep making content, keep posting to social too. because the more you post, the more eyes might see your stuff. And who knows what's going to happen in, 10 years. When I graduated college 10 years ago, that's weird to say, social media didn't really exist in the sports world. It was more traditional marketing and stuff like that. So everything's changing. So just be aware of things that are changing, take risks while you're young and have the ability to do so. So that is what I would do. Let us hop back in over here into Photoshop and completely get rid of the chat. Cool. So we're going to talk about a couple things. Someone wanted to know how to get details in faces. And the easiest way to do that is to use only high quality photos. I base a lot of my personal fun designs around what photos I can find online that are high quality. The higher the quality photo, the better the results are going to be. It's sort of like cooking. If I give you terrible ingredients, whatever you make, you could be the best chef in the world. It's not going to be as good as something that has good, better ingredients. Better ingredients, better designs. Bradley Jack design. So let's just hop over. So I'm going to try and find a photo of someone's face that we can play around with and edit and try and get some details out of. So you guys give me a person or athlete, and we'll let you guys decide who we do. And if you aren't already aware, this is our best friend Google Advanced Image Search. So we're going to search for someone. We're going to find photos larger than 4 megapixels to create or just mess around. And we'll use this as sort of a base for some stuff we're going to do as well. So shoot me an idea of anyone. LeBron. Okay. Sure. We'll just do LeBron. It's not like I have found plenty of photos of LeBron. Garrett, I'm not doing Andy Dalton QB1. So I've done this. I've done this before with a photo of LeBron. So I like to find interesting photos to use. Like how a couple people said LeBron. I'm just looking for a photo of him. Like this is a nice one. Nice side shot. So I'm gonna open this into a new tab. We got this tiny, tiny photo. I'm gonna go up here. And I'm gonna delete all this and see what happens. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Let me see if this photo exists still. There it is. We're gonna open this in a new tab. Giant photo. Look at that Adam's apple. Wheat. Okay, so let's go here. Let's grab this LeBron photo. Let's throw it into Photoshop. Let me figure out where this keycaster is casting. So I have default actions that I use for all of my stuff. So someone asked about bringing out details in faces. There's a couple things you can do. One thing that I think is really nice to use is frequency separation. It's more for cleaning up faces. So there's an action you can get for free from Flern. And you can use it. I'm on 8-bit, so I'm just going to hit play on the 8-bit. You can watch a couple videos on how to do frequency separation, but it helps you smooth stuff out. Basically what we can do is we can use just, the lasso tool, feather it a bit, and you can highlight different groups of like the same coloring, and then if we Gaussian blur that's too much. Blur, Gaussian blur. Let's set that to like 2. And I don't want to do it on that one. I'm going to do this on this bottom layer. One layer controls color. One layer controls texture. So this top layer is texture. This bottom layer is color. And I'm just going to breeze through this real quickly. Check out their video on it. It's going to show you a lot more in depth. And there's a bunch of different videos on how to do frequency separation. But basically, I can blur this. and I want to blur it more. Blur it, not 5. I want to blur it like filter, blur, Gaussian blur. What did I do? I completely broke it. All right, whatever. All right, so one thing I can see with this photo, just in general, is that it's in focus here. It's not as in focus in here. So what we might want to do, actually, let me keep doing this frequency separation because I already brought it up. I don't want to jump around. So I'm going to select areas of his skin that are the same color or the same shade, sort of. And then basically I can just blur them a bunch. And since this layer's in charge of texture and this layer's in charge of color, if I deselect, you can see it's a lot smoother. So this is what a lot of like beauty photos use. We can blur that. You know, you can see it a lot here if I blur this. I mean, it's just blending together, making things a little bit softer. So this is one thing you can do to sort of fine-tune some photos, and it does give it a bit of a good effect. And then you can take this top layer and just use the spot healing brush, and you can go in, you can just hit some spots, but you want to make sure it's not sampling all layers, because if you do sample all layers, it's going to look like that, and it's going to look terrible. So you can just go in briefly and just content aware. The smaller you do it, the easier it's gonna be. But you know, this is, you know, what if we content aware that? We can do the same thing here, really, too. But it might mess things up. But that's the before and after. You can just see a bit of skin smoothing. But let's just take this photo as it is. So use high quality photos, and you would want to add contrast. And the way we can do that is we can do it with Camera Raw, which is what I use for everything. So someone wanted to talk about Camera Raw, so we can talk about it with this photo of LeBron. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I want to do is I'm going to sharpen this image. Actually, we're going to convert it to a smart object first. That way we can go back and change all of these settings. So I like to go to Sharpen, Unsharpen Mask. And then it gives you some settings. And really everything in Photoshop, just play around and see what looks good. Or what things do. So if I increase the amount, you can see it's pulling in a lot of the whites of his hair. If I blow it up a bunch, and you can see, you know, I think I like part of that in the hair, if that's what you're looking for. But then you can see on where his skin is, it's super sharp, and we probably don't want that. I like to hang around 66, and then you can change the pixel size and see what that does. And it's basically making the sharpening pixel bigger. So you can see it's sort of haloing around his nose. We don't really want that. So if I change it to 1, it goes away. If we do 2.5, it goes here. Here it's asking if there's much of a difference between high pass and unsharpened mask. On unsharpened mask, you can tweak the settings after the fact. High pass, yeah, there's more control with unsharpened mask. High pass is a little more destructive. You could use both too. I've done that before to sharpen it up. And then you can boost the threshold up and down, and you can see what it does with that. I think it's going to affect the hair up here. I usually have that set to 0. If we boost it up, you can see it's getting rid of all the whites. So I like to do an unsharpened mask at 66 and 2.5. And you can see that it's really sharpening the hair up. But you could also go in and just sharpen it yourself. If this wasn't a smart object. So if you go into the main photo, I don't know what's happening. Oh, I've had this happen a lot recently, and I don't know why. Oh, did I do this? Did I hit like a whole bunch of buttons I didn't want to? Yeah, so like Photoshop's super bugging out right now. If you look at the top right here, this is how far I've zoomed in. It's not showing me anything. So we're going to try that again. There. Jeez. So I like to do this on tattoos. Is just have your rastered layer and then pull the sharpen tool over here and just hit tattoos with it. I'll pull a photo up. But areas I like to have to be super sharp are areas you're gonna see and want to in eyes, because if you look at someone and their eyes are out of focus, that's what you're looking at. So it's a subject matter. People are drawn to eyes. I'm gonna sharpen his ear up a little bit. So I just have this sharpen tool with like normal 50% strength, and I'm just gonna click around in some of these areas to sharpen it up, because the focus is on the end of his nose here. So if they were using a very shallow depth of field, you won't be able to see everything clearly. So I'm gonna save that and go back to here, and then that's gonna update. And this is already a lot crisper. Now you can see though, you can see a lot of this coloring, and that's from the sharpening, and that's not great. That's color noise. So that's where going into the camera raw filter might be able to fix that. We'll take a look real quick. I want to zoom in more. Let me zoom in more. Thank you. So we're going to talk about all these. We're going to go through a bunch of this stuff. But I want to go to color noise reduction. So if I boost that up, you can see it's very colorful here. But if I boost this up, it's getting rid of those colors and it's blending everything in together. It's not necessarily sharpening. It's not reducing the noise like this would. It's just reducing the color difference. And you can sharpen in here too if you want. You know, maybe add a little bit of sharpening and hit OK. Now if we come back out, that color's gone. That color's normal. So if we want to get more details out of this photo, what can we do? Well, let's hop into Camera Raw. So Camera Raw is very powerful. It's something every designer should know how to use. I already had a Camera Raw filter setting. So you can see over here, there's two of them now. I'm adding one on top of another. You can have as many as you want. So what I generally like to do is something called, I've heard someone describe it as stretching the image. But really, let's go to the basic settings of Camera Raw and what you can do with this. So, you know, you can make a photo brighter or darker with the exposure. You can increase or decrease the contrast. Usually we want to increase the contrast. So if we increase it a little bit to 20, you can brighten the highlights or lower the highlights. Now, if you increase the contrast, sometimes if you increase the contrast too much, those top ends can be a little bit too much. And you can see in the histogram up here, which I'm no expert in. I don't even know why I mentioned the histogram, because I don't know what I'm talking about with that. So what I like to do is I like to boost the shadows and dim the highlights. But you can see I can boost the highlights and I can darken the shadows. But really all that's doing is it's blowing out this top end here, and it's making it so this stuff's darker. So I like to decrease and increase those. And then you really, what you should do is you should just go into Camera Raw and just play with all of these settings. You know, what happens if I lower the whites? What happens if I up the whites? You know, that looks terrible. If I lower them all the way, what happens? You know, I lowered them all the way and it doesn't really seem like it did much. If we go back to 0, it's taking those brightest whites and it's making them darker. Yeah, Garrett, you started lower the contrast in the initial edit to have more control over the lighting. And that's actually probably a pretty good idea. Because that's what you're going to see if you see people who take video. You know, they get really low contrast like this in their log files. And then they go in and you can use a curves layer or something layer, just color correcting to fix it. I might start doing that. That's actually a good idea. But you can see if I boost the whites or dim the whites or boost the blacks and darken the blacks, it's basically making them lighter or darker. I generally don't touch those too much. You can add texture. So if I just go up here to a random corner and I add texture, you can see we lower it, we add it. So it's sort of sharpening it, but not necessarily. So let's go back to 100%. So if we have 15 texture and 0 texture, texture adds a little bit of sharpen. I like to add a little bit of clarity, which adds in some more contrast. And then dehaze is kind of fun. It works well for dehazing photos. So for this, if we lower it, you can see things are getting foggier and harder to see. And if we make it higher, it's getting rid of some haze that you might have. Dehazing, I believe, is really good. I used it on photos I took on my honeymoon in Hawaii. It was really foggy when we went hiking. Used it on that. It got rid of a bunch of the fog. So you might want to up that if you want to get rid of some of the fogginess in the photo. And then vibrance and saturation. These are very similar. If you boost the saturation, it's boosting all the colors. Vibrance is very similar, but if you boost that, it doesn't destroy the skin tones as much. So you saw when we have, here's vibrance at 50. You know, it looks like that, okay? And this is it at 0. There's a bit of a difference. If you want to move the saturation to 50, you can see his skin is very yellow, and it doesn't look good. So I'm going to boost the vibrance up 35 for no reason. There's a bunch of stuff we can do in Camera Raw. So you can adjust the curve in Camera Raw here to do initial edits in here. So I can, you know, bump up or bump down the shadows. We can bump up the midtones. We can lower the highlights. You know, we can really lower some highlights. You can play with them here. And you can also just make manual easy adjustments, round numbers. So I can say, you know, maybe we want to boost the highlights and the lights 5, and we want to darken the contrast. We want to add contrast by darkening the darks and the shadows. We can do that in here as well. You can also adjust some of the, I mean, this is the curves layer essentially in Camera Raw. So there's a lot you can do in here if you know what you're doing. So this is showing you a better way than the actual curves does. So you can see this is adding red, or if you take away red, it's going to make it more cyan. If we have green, it's going to make it more green, or it's going to make it more purple. If we do blue, it's going to make it more blue, or it's going to make it less yellow. So those are what the curve settings do in the curves layer. And you can do custom point curves. So I'm just going to do linear, which is resetting everything back to 0, because we don't want to, I don't typically fix or fuss around with that. We talked about the detail a little bit. You can sharpen noise reduce, which is going to reduce the noise of the overall image. And then the color reduction is going to reduce the color noise. So we fixed the color noise a little bit in this image already. Color mixer in here. Let's say we want this purple to be more blue. We can go into the purples. We can drag the purple over to blue. Now he has a blue jersey on. Boom, we already changed his jersey to blue. If we want the blues to be green, we can move the greens over. Now, the only thing we really see in this is purple and then his skin tone, which is going to be red, oranges, and yellows. So if we think his skin tone is a little too yellow, we can move orange over to red. And then, you know, if it's too purple, we can change it over to yellow. And you can play around in these. You might find some cool settings to make some cool looking skin tones in here. You know, we can make him look like he is scurvy and he's sick, but we don't need to do that. And this is applying to only, I'm talking about sports photos when we're talking about this. You can use this for any photo you take. You know, you can change the grass color and make it, you know, bluer. You can tweak stuff like that. So, color grading, I haven't played with a lot of these down here, but you can color grade things too. So if we mess around with this midtones, we can color grade them to be more aligned with one specific color. We can do the same thing with the shadows. If we want the shadows to lean one way or the other, you can mess around with these. And that's the best thing you can do. And then you can blend it in a little bit more, a little bit less. And then you can figure out, you know, the balance. I haven't played around with this balance before, to be honest. So this is giving it sort of a cool, funky little thing. I don't want that though. I want something that I would hypothetically use, which I don't mess with that. Optics, you can distort it. I've done this before and stuff. So this is distorting it like a lens. You can add vignettes in here. Change where the midpoint is to make the vignette lighter or darker. You can defringe. Defringing is something that happens when you take a photo. Sometimes the... this is a good photo, so I can't. It's not in this one. Sometimes the photo has a bit of a fringe on it. You'll see it in... I see it in landscape photos. Just depending on how far the lens is zoomed in, you might have some chromatic aberration. So this allows you to tweak that. Now this is a bad photo, so I can't show you how to do that. And then geometry, this would be more for like landscape photography. Let me fit into view. And it shows you a grid of what it's doing, so you can rotate it and tweak the horizontal and vertical aspect of the photo, but we don't want to do that because it's going to completely mess things up. Effects, you can add grain. That's always a good thing to do at like an end of a graphic. You can go ahead and throw a little bit of grain on it and throw a little bit of vignette. That's what I like to do to sort of focus the energy on whatever you're looking at. Yeah, Chris, I use the defringe. I've used it every once in a while. I also use it to distort photos, but I use the camera. I use something else, lens distortion instead. And then calibration, I haven't played around with this, but you can mess with the tint. You can mess around with the reds. Really just play around with some of these functions to see what they do. But I showed you the main ones that you need. So I'm just gonna hit OK. And here's our more detailed photo of LeBron. So we added contrast into it and sharpened it. So that is how I would add details to faces. So I hope that answered your question. Boom, there it is. Someone asked about holographic stickers. There are, holographic stickers are trendy sort of things. There's some packs you can buy that are honestly probably just worth buying so you don't have to make your own. But let's just take a look. This holographic sticker, there's a bunch of stuff in here. So really, what is a holographic sticker? So here's a photo of a holographic sticker. Here's some holographic stickers. The problem with holographic stickers is that a lot of the effect is because of the light that you're in it. Like this inspiration holographic sticker only looks this cool at this specific angle. It looks completely different at a different angle. But let's try and make a holographic sticker. So I'm just gonna draw a circle on LeBron right here. Now I'm gonna add some elements I like to add to things to make them look like they're stickers or paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna make a group out of this first. And then I'm going to add a bevel and emboss. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just going to give it a little bit of an edge. And I like to use exact numbers here. So on a sticker, it would have a little thin edge to it. So I'm just going to give it a thin edge. Let's do 1 pixel at 66%. Screen at 100%. And you can see here, if we zoom in, this is what it's doing. Let me make this a different color. So what a bevel and embossing is doing, I'm just doing an inner bevel that's chiseled hard right here. You can do smooth, which will make it smooth. Smooth, we'll just do smooth actually, that's fine. And then you can change the contour, which I do not want to do. But it basically changes what the bevel's edge looks like. I usually just do this. If I set screen to multiply to 100, you can see we get a little bit of a lip down here that's black. But really, we just want this tiny lip up top. What if I make the depth huge? Sure, let's just make the depth 200. I like camera raw better than it's camera cooked. Yeah, that is definitely for sure. You can add a texture too. So like, here's the texture. This might be something you want to do, not with the default pattern. but with a like paper texture. So we've got our bevel here, so that's good. What I want to do now is I want to give it a gradient overlay. I'm just going to use standard black and white, and I'm going to have it go up and down. Actually, let's have it follow that. The light is the same. And I usually set this depends on the coloring. I'll show you when we're done. I'm going to set this to overlay at 50%. So what this is doing is it's just basically making the top left area lighter than the bottom left area. And I want it to be aligned with the area. Let's double check this gradient. Sounds good. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a drop shadow. Same angle, sure. Distance, let's make it 4 pixels and size 3. I'm going to make this black. And I'm going to make the size 25. And I'm going to make the opacity 33. Really just want this to have a small shadow to it. So really, if it was on like a piece of paper or something, if I just put something behind it, you can see a little bit of a shadow. Now, I don't like that shadow. I want it to be less effective. I think that's better. So basically, I want the shadow to be as like wide as it would be tall if it was a sticker. So actually, I'm going to make it 3. So let's do that. Okay. So now we need to make it holographic. Now, I haven't tried making a holographic sticker this way before, but we're gonna try something out. I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna mask it to the ellipse we had, and then really what we can do, holographic sticker. So it's really just a bunch of rainbow colors. And part of the thing that sort of sells a holographic sticker is the paper texture on it. So like this, you can see has this texture to it. So you would need to get something that has that texture, which we might have. It's just paper. But then it's just sort of a meshing of colors. So, I mean, what you could do is you could, let's take the gradient tool. See, I reset Photoshop. So like, here's iridescence. Here's some iridescent colors. Cool, that's what I want. We can go like this. You know, we can do something like this, duplicate it, set it to, I don't know, overlay, and then move it around. You can tweak the blending mode a bunch. You know, that looks kind of holographic. Set to divide. Maybe we add an adjustment layer, vibrancy to boost up the saturation a bunch, make it vibrant, toss that on there. You know, we can go into exposure, make it darker, maybe, but maybe not exposure. Maybe we just want to do a little curves layer. Yeah, curves layer to darken up like that. You know, that doesn't terribly look accurate. Let's get another one going. And right now I'm just like experimenting with what might work as a holographic sticker. Like, you know, that kind of maybe different colors might look like a holographic sticker. Let's make another layer and just go like this instead of multiply. Darken everything up. Now, one thing that might make a holographic sticker actually look like a holographic sticker is having something on top that's different or inverted. So let me, hey, there we go. Hey, look, my logo, cool. Let's drop this one on here. Here's my logo. It has a dumb background on it, so we're gonna need to get rid of it. So we're gonna get rid of it. I have a different way of doing this that's still cost effective that I think is a better way. I just wanted to try this out to see if we can get something realistic. which this is okay. You know, maybe we just merge all these layers together and then duplicate this, put it on top, set this to color, take this layer, set a curves adjustment to it. Illustrator's still opening, so that's fun. And then let me just draw this big M. And what that is going to do is it's going to make it look sort of silver. That looks kind of cool. What if we shift it a little bit? That looks more holographic, so that's good. So holographic stickers are really just colors. That doesn't look like the best holographic sticker, but it kind of looks like a holographic sticker, so that's cool. Let me take my logo. This is actually a bad example because it's kind of thin. So maybe we, you know, merge all this stuff together, duplicate it, and then I apply it to my logo here, but then I rotate it or something like that, and then it looks like this, you know. And then we can take away, I want to see what this gradient overlay does. Nothing. What if I set that to 100? Still does nothing. So that kind of looks like a holographic sticker. A little bit. What I would do differently is, let me find the right one. So what I would do is this. Go find some holographic paper, take a photo of it, throw it in Photoshop, like this. Look, holographic paper. That's cool. I took a bunch of photos of some holographic paper for something. So like, boom, that looks like a holographic sticker already. Then we can toss this one up here, rotate it around like that. Holographic sticker. You know, maybe we throw a bevel and emboss on here. Turn the settings down a little bit. Maybe an outer bevel. Oh, I want it to be down. An inner bevel down, that's like, I don't know, 10%. You know, that looks better because it's using real paper. And I got like that piece of paper at like a craft store for like $1 or $2 or something. I want to see something real quick on here. So what happens if we grab a piece of paper from my assets? So I have a bunch of paper patterns. I'm just wondering if, oh, these are patterns. I don't want patterns. I'm just wondering if there's a piece of paper in there that I can set a blending mode to that will make it look sort of like that rippliness to it. So I'm just looking through some of my photos of paper. So like here's a photo of some paper. What if we drop this equally on both of these? And then let me quit out of that. So what if I set this, I'm just gonna play around with the blending modes. So like I can set it to divide maybe. Luminosity's not bad. Maybe if I set it to 25% at luminosity. It gives it a little bit of that, which is not too bad. But again, if you want to make something holographic, the best thing is to use holographic paper. So like, let me give another example. Where's my Finder window? Uh-oh. I got a spinning wheel of death. Finder. New. Hey, there we go. We're back up. So I took some photos of some cool holographic paper for hypothetical fake cards. So I can toss this down here. Maybe I set it to screen. Then we toss this one on top, throw it here. Time to plug in Botto elements. You want me to plug in Vado? Here, I'll plug in Vado. So here's Envato Elements. This is what I use to find stuff. You can also just search holographic in here, and then if I go down to graphics or templates, boom, look, it's a holographic sticker. Here's some holographic foil mock-ups someone made. How would you fold part of the sticker in half? Good question. Man, we got this straight out of a vending machine in the 90s. Let me make this look sort of realistic of what I want. All right, so we've got this sticker here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our sticker here, or we're gonna convert it to a smart object, which completely breaks everything we just did. So we're gonna group this together, and we're gonna turn that into a smart object, and it still breaks. That's weird. Okay, so what you can do, I mean, the bottom of a sticker is white, so we can just take a white ellipse, toss that on top of everything. You get a white ellipse here, put it right yeah, but the layer styles shouldn't break if I convert this to a smart object here, because it's all within a group. So it's something in here. It's something weird. So what you can do, let's say this is what we want the back of the sticker to be. There's a couple different things you can do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from point to point. And I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to mask this. Is that what I want? Let me see. Yeah, that's what I want. And I'm going to mask that to it as well. And then we can just go down here and we can just fix it. Mask it back in. So, I mean, this already has a little bit of let's say this is folded. It's sort of realistic. It's folding at the same spot that it's touching the edges. That's important. So we want this to be on the top. So this is this top sticker back part. Let's add another layer. Up clipped to that layer. And then I'm going to draw. Basically, I'm just going to draw a shadow like this. Except we have the wrong gradient type. So you've got a shadow. I'm going to set that to multiply. And you can tweak where the shadow is. One thing that might work better, because there's a couple different things you can do here. Okay, here's what you can do. This would be easier to be done in Illustrator for what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the pen tool, so this is going to be fun. So let's grab the pen tool, and I'll show you why I'm grabbing this in a sec. I wonder if there's a way I can do this without the pen tool. Yeah, there's a way I can do this without the pen tool. So let's do it without the pen tool just to be Bradley Jack Design. So we got a rectangle here. We're going to put it at the same angle roughly as this. Whoa, we're going to break things like that. You guys almost got me. You almost got me. No, so I'm going to mask this to the bottom layer. And it's not quite at the same angle. So we'll do something like that. I'm going to mask this with a 100% hardness brush. Roughly the same diameter. I'm going to have it so the tangents of the, what are they called? These circles line up, and do one of these. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a curve. And then on this whole thing, what I want to do then is make the curve from here Let me just grab the brush. Sort of realistically, you would have some sort of curve like this. So you want it to curve around. So I'm leaving a little bit of the edge on purpose. And then we can take this guy here from where the top of these tangents are and delete it. So that looks a little bit better as a curve. And then if we put this shadow back on, it looks like it's curving over. Now there's better ways to do this with shaping and stuff like that. You know, I did it real rough with just like erasing this area. But you can do it and fine tune it with shapes better. One thing you might want to do then too is on this top sticker part. This also needs to have a bit of a shadow to it because it's coming from the bottom. So let's go like that. Nope, don't like that. Let's do one of these and set it to something real low. You know, like that. It looks a little bit better. And then for the shadow, I'm going to try something different. Let's grab a gradient. Do we just have grays? What is in here? Super ominous grays. Set it to multiply. Let me invert that. Nope, don't like that. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. One thing you might want to do is add some texture to this. I'm trying to think of an easy way to do that. Just to make it so sort of the edges are rounded or rough. Okay, so one thing we can do. Let's try this. Just thought of something we might be able to do. So I'm going to find, actually just make a whole new layer. A whole new file. 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. It does not matter. We're going to make it not that color. We're going to make it black and white. I'm going to take, I don't think I have it in here anymore. Oh, these are actions. I don't want actions. I want brushes. Okay, so I'm gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna grab a brush. Edge fold brushes. I got these from Retro Supply Co. So what I'm gonna do, what's up, Darian? You missed everything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw a line like that. I think this will work. And then I'm gonna go to filter, I'm gonna go to render, and I'm gonna go to, no, distort polar coordinates. And I'll go rectangular to polar and hit OK. Okay. So I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like this. Filter polar coordinates. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Then we got ourselves a nice, I'm gonna convert this to a smart object. Now we got ourselves a nice circle. Now I can paste this circle on top here, set it to screen, blow it up a little bit, rotate it, flip it and reverse it. And yeah, for your major man, it's for all the Missy Elliott fans. So I can mask this now. And now the sticker has a bit of an imperfect edge. And I did that real crudely, but I think it works out pretty well. Because no sticker has a perfect edge, so this gives it a little bit of a jagged edge. That's cool. What happens if I take this top sticker part now, just this part here, and go to filter, distort, noise, pixelate, crystallize. Convert it to a smart object. How much? 3. Did you guys see that do anything? Because I didn't. So never mind. Boom. But there, there's a holographic sticker we made. So really the best thing to do is to find some of your own assets to do it with. Yeah, that's fun. So hope that made sense. If you wanted this to make look a little bit curved, you can also then add another shadow coming from this side. Nope. That's a multiply, because then it looks like it's curving in a little bit. Something like that. Let's save this as so we don't lose any of this stuff. So I hope that was cool. Yeah, time to throw some mock-ups now in my store. You can buy this $18 for a sticker with my logo on it. No, I need to make some stickers, actually. Real stickers. Those would be more worth buying. All right, what else we got now? Took a lot of time. Faces details, check. Holographic stickers, check. Camera raw, check. Seamless coloring or blending, and then original colors after camera raw. So we did some camera raw to this. I do some other funky effects to it, so I'm gonna hit that button real quick. Play. Okay. That actually didn't mess up as much as I thought it would. But let's go to teamcolorcodes.com. Let's type in the Lakers. And it's all just about color matching or color correcting. Share some techniques on player lighting. Elaborate on that, please. Let me move this sticker up here. Anyone else enjoy taking stickers off Amazon packages to scan its assets? That's a great idea. Okay, so what we have here, I'm going to show you how to correctly get that color back to what it should be. So let's say we want to make these colors the same. This is the Lakers purple. There's no layers affecting this color. And this is what we have with LeBron. So this is definitely more blue. So what I would do is underneath that rectangle layer, I would pull up a selective color layer, and I want to change the blues and the magentas. I'm going to start with blue because this seems to be a little bit more blue than magenta. And then we're just going to play around with these sliders, and using color theory, I know what it does. So if I remove cyans, it's making it more purple because we're getting rid of blue. So already, I mean, that looks pretty good. We might not have to do much other than that. But you can add or take away some magenta if you want. If you decrease the yellow or increase the yellow, you can see what it does. But I'm basically going to make it so I can play around with these until they kind of blend together. It doesn't have any texture on it, so that doesn't really help. So actually, let me try something. Let's duplicate this. Let's apply to that. Let's set this to luminosity. There. So what I did was I duplicated the LeBron layer, threw it on top, set it to luminosity, so it's only affecting the how light or bright something is. So now I can go into the selective color and I can play around until it pretty much virtually blends in. So if we look at the right side, this is blending in pretty well right here. We can add in or take away some yellow. We don't want to do that. We want it to be more like that. The cyans we can play with until it blends in. That's pretty good. Then we can go in and we can fix the blues and just mess around with it. That looks pretty good. So this is the selective color. This is before, this is after. This is just tweaking the colors to match after you've done a bunch of editing to it. Someone asked about designing for large print, best practices, and that's going to depend on the final print of what it is, and it's going to depend on the printer. Each printer you go with is going to have different specifications that they might like. From my experience, I've created stuff that have been 200 foot wide banners, 30 foot by 170 foot banners up in certain places. And with those, usually the DPI is lower. You can have the DPI be high, but it's going to crash probably. I think we sent off printers to we sent off files. We printed them themselves. So the guy I chatted with, I think what we did was maybe we did half size at double the DPI, because then when it prints, it's going to be that full DPI. So let's say you're going to print something that's going to be 72 DPI. You can set the initial settings to be 144 at half size. And then when they print it and blow it up full scale, the DPI is going to be 72. A lot of what you see on like walls and stuff at arenas isn't 300 DPI because the files are way too big. And because the average viewing distance is probably going to be a couple feet. Whereas if you're looking at something on your phone or a piece of paper, it's 6 inches away from your face. So the DPI is going to be a lot lower. So designing for large, really, I whenever I do that, I ask them usually what do they want their file size to be. Do they want it at, what DPI do they want? And if they want it to be full scale, and they'll usually tell you. So they might say we want it at 150 DPI, regular size, and you can do that. Or they might say make it half scale at 300 DPI or quarter scale at 600 DPI. I design everything at 300 DPI because that's a general printing dots per inch. So then if I do need to tweak it for something to be bigger or smaller, I can do that easily. And since I do everything non-destructively, all of that will scale easily for the application. So 2 quick things we're going to chat about, and then we can go into whatever you guys want to talk about. Someone wanted to talk about seamless color or blending, and I think I know what they mean. So let's go to unsplash.com. Oh God. Unsplash. Not Unplash. Night Alley. Yeah, look at this. Boom. Download. Cool. Lady. Let's search man instead. Boom. Look, here's a guy. All right, let's download this guy. We can do this to pretend that this is with athletes. It really doesn't matter. The application's all the same. We just use it for athletes over just general stuff. So I'm gonna set this to 50% just to make sure. Actually, it's pretty scaled up pretty well. Yeah, I didn't want to search lady. We used to have an account at one of my jobs, and it was, I think, Ing Image or iStock. It might have been iStock even. Select in mask. Oops. We're going to use our favorite thing in the world.
Quick select.
All right, I had to do that. So I'm just going to hit select subject, select in mask. I'm just going to hit OK because this doesn't really matter. And I'm going to name this whatever the file is. Sure. Right click, replace contents, date modified, top thing on my desktop, click, boom, here he is. Great. Anyway, we had an iStock account, and if you search to like Phoenix, Arizona, it was just like random girls in bikinis in front of some stupid like Western setting. It didn't make any sense. So let's say we want to blend these in. This is something a lot of people do. You can do this with an athlete, put them in a scene. Let's try a couple different things. There's one thing that I tried once and it did not work. It worked terribly. So we're going to try it again to see if it works for this. So I'm going to rasterize this layer. Oh, you had a teacher wanted to search bare naked ladies with the projectors on. That sounds terrible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments, Match Color. I'm going to go to Source. I want whatever we're on. So that's this Alex Knight. And I'm going to select the background color. And we can preview it. And you can see it looks pretty bad. Not what we want. It looks pretty decent down here. But we can change the color intensity or the luminance to see if that fixes anything. Which is, it's not at all. Let me throw some fade on this, toss up luminance, toss it up a little bit more. This is like breaking so hardcore, it's great. There you go. So if we fade it in a little bit more and not have the color intensity be 8,000, that looks okay. His face is way too pink though, but it's basically replacing the colors in there. I'm gonna hit cancel and we're gonna do this a different way. So here's what I would do for this to blend this into a background initially. So I'm gonna hit I with my eyedropper tool. I'm gonna grab a light source color. I'm gonna grab, oh, you want me to do color balance? Oh, 20%, oh, 20% of the time match color works. So Garrett, you would use color balance for this. Or is there, you would use color balance and you would tweak this. These are the midtones. So we can move these over. We want it to be more blue. We want it to be more magenta. We want the shadows to be more blue. Yeah, this works pretty decently. You can sort of blend it in there. You want to preserve luminosity. That's what I would do. Well, Garrett, I was just asking if that's what you use. It's not a problem. This kind of gets blended in. You can play around with color balance. What I like to do is I like to use our dear old friend. Love that. So we're just gonna go back here and we're gonna apply this gradient map here. We're gonna make sure the gradient map is selected. We're gonna change some of these colors around. So I'm gonna select a dark area. We got a dark area here. It's not 100% black, that's fine. We're gonna grab a mid-tone. We're gonna grab a blue like that. We're gonna hop up here. Maybe we grab a little bit of this pink color. No. Maybe a little bit of that. We're gonna grab white and we're gonna select light source like that. And I like to set that to soft light. As you can see here, it doesn't do anything. And the reason being is because he's way too bright for this background. So we need to go to the exposure. Oh, this does it so small. And drop the exposure of him. So we've got him down there. The gradient map is basically getting rid of those tones. And you can see how much he's blending in already. Oh, make it dark first and then color balance. See? Exactly. Which is exactly what I just did here, just differently. So I've got a gradient map with colors selected around here, set to soft light. Let's try the color balance again. Now that he is the proper exposure. So we take the midtones, we want them to be more cyan, we want them to be more magenta, more blue. Yeah, see, that looks way better if you make it the same darkness first. So this is already blended in with the midtones. We can do the same thing with the highlights to see what that does. Yeah, okay. And the same thing with the shadows. Same settings. Nope. Nope. Don't want to mess around with the shadows. But yeah, that looks better too. So you could use color balance. Color balance might give you a little bit more finite control and a gradient map. What happens if I set this to soft light? Looks bad. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Tight, 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 tight. So color balance is good. Gradient map. Let's take a look and see which one of these looks better, actually. The color balance might actually look better. Delete. Vector maps are the worst. Man, I've been having the weirdest time with layer masks. Okay, yeah. So you can be the judge. The color balance is on the left and looks way better than the gradient map. So yeah, use color balance and play around with the settings and see what it looks like. Oh, I usually set soft light to like 50% though. Yeah, use color balance. Color balance is way better. So make it the same color, make it the same exposure, and then use color balance because that looks super nice. Good job, Garrett and D's nuts. Okay. Someone wanted to talk about displacement maps. Now I have a whole other video on displacement maps, so I would rather you guys go take a look at that, but I can show you just quickly what displacement maps do. So I'm gonna take a rectangle and I'm just gonna go like this. We're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. Cool, whatever. Convert to smart object, filter, liquefy. Big old liquefy panel that came up. Zoom out a bit. And what I'm just gonna smudge this a bunch. Like this. Cool, look. Boom. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 3. Save. So displacement maps displace whatever you have. Displace test. Art. So it'll displace whatever you have based on the displacement map you apply to it. And the displacement map essentially is going to, if it's a range from black to white, move pixels or keep them the same. So I'll show you with some text. Andy Dalton is not my QB. Okay, we'll just do that. Just random off the cuff sort of thing. We'll just blow this up however you want. Blah, 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 blah. You know, I want it to be nice and big. Oh yeah, look at that. Huge. Let me just convert this to a smart object because we're going to have to convert it to a smart object anyway. So what you can do this with a bunch of stuff. You can do this to distort text. So I can go here and hit filter, distort, displace. And then these are the default settings. I'm just going to hit OK. Displace text, hit enter, and you can see it distorted the heck out of it, which looks super cool. Yes, Cooper, QB1, red rifle. So this is a way you can make like cool distorted text like this using a random displacement map. What I use displacement maps for are a little different. So let me make a new file. Let me grab stock 8014. What do we want to grab? Oh, I want some. Oh, I got something in here. Good. Sports textures. Nope. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. We're picking a texture. Actually, no. Let's use this. This is a good one. Boom. Sports texture. Cool. So to make a displacement map, it has to be black and white. Has anyone used Black Market's reactor tool? No, but it looks super cool. Basically, it looks like it does a lot of this displacement stuff just in one click. It looks super awesome. It's way over my head how it works. I know how it works, but the coding and how it works as a plugin seems pretty cool. So here's what I'm going to type in. Let's type in baseball. Origin super condensed backslant with a -15. Let's convert this to a smart object and make it giant like this. Hit enter. Let's not do that. Hold on. Let's make the font bigger. 400. 200. So I do this a lot with making things look realistic on football fields. You can do the same thing here. Let's make this white, right? It doesn't really, oh wait. Yeah, this will work. This is actually slightly different of what I would actually do. I'm gonna convert this to a smart object. So what we need for a displacement map is a black and white image. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to throw it on top here. I'm going to make the adjustment layer black and white. Black and white. Delete. I'm going to convert this to a smart object. I'm going to duplicate these, convert it to a smart object. Get rid of this layer here. Delete this. All right, now we have this separate file. And I'm just going to make the blacks a little blacker and the whites a little whiter, so there's more contrast. I'm going to merge this together and then blur it again. You want to blur it so it's more subtle. So we're going to save this. The transition's more subtle with the displacement. You can't save it as a large document format. It has to be a Photoshop file. Displace dirt. Now if we go back here, we've got baseball. We can go to filter, distort, displace. 10 and 10 is fine. You can change that if it doesn't look good, and then do dirt. So now we have this in the dirt. So that looks nice. So then what I would do is I would go to adjustments, regular gradient map.
Gradient map.
The reactor cranks the displacement values to like 200. I think they just have a bunch of preset ones that are real sweet. So I'm going to select baseball, and I'm going to mask it, and then get rid of this, and then boost these whites over like this. And now it looks like it's on the dirt. I guess I could have just done that with this, and then just done an underlying layer and done this. Yeah, that would have worked too. So that's cool. So there, now it's displaced to the dirt. You can kind of see spots of where it's going. I think this looks a little bit better, just because it's painted it a little bit white. Maybe we even do this and then change the underlying layer just a little bit. But there, baseball, baseball, baseball. So that's how you can do a displacement map on text to have it match an object. And then let's just convert this all to a smart object real quick. I've got some glass. We got some glass in here somewhere. Yeah, I don't want that though. Yeah, I want this. So let's say we want to displace stuff with glass. This is what I like to displace. I like to use displacement maps on glass a lot. So we have this displacement map, and it's in a rectangle. You want it to be the same size of what you're doing if you're doing it to a whole design. So we'll go up to filter, distort, displace, 1010, sure. I'm gonna go to my stock images under glass. This is one I made from when Buffalo, I think, beat Duke or something. So I'm gonna hit OK. So now it is displaced. You can see it's displaced very little bit. If I set this to screen, if I turn this off and on, you can see it's displacing on the lines of where this is. So I want to displace that more. Let's do -10 and -25. -25. Why? I don't know. So now it's displaced a lot more. So you can see it's definitely displaced a lot more where it's showing up. So then I like to set the initial layer to color dodge at like 50% and then duplicate the same screened layer and set that to maybe 100%. So now we have some broken glass on top of this that we can use. This font's called Origin Super Condensed, I believe. Origin Super Condensed Black Backslant. Actually, it's a backslant instead of a forward normal italic. I'm going to group these together real quick and just throw an adjustment layer of levels on top of it just to get rid of some of to make it a little bit less foggy. But that's like one way you can do that, to displace text to make it look like it's behind glass. And that I talk about in my other video on that. And then the last thing you can do, one last thing with the displacement map that comes in very handy, sports textures. No. No. Sorry, I'm looking for something specific. Let's try this one. I don't think it's going to work how I think it's going to work. but we're going to try and make it work. So you can make things look like they're on go Bears. So you can make it look like it's on fabric. So I'm going to blow this up to be giant. And then, okay, we'll get rid of some exclamation marks. There we go. We want this to be not this color. Orange. Perfect. Look at that. I spelled beavers wrong. Beavers. There. Go Beavers. Go Oregon State. Sounds good. So we've got that on there. We've got our background. We'll just convert that to a smart object just for fun. We're going to make a new smart object, and we're going to make it black and white. And I'm just going to convert this to a new smart object again so we can have a separate file already open. Back to the basics. You want to make extreme blacks and extreme whites. Sort of like this. And then we're going to take our background and we're going to blur it. Because if you don't, it's going to be super jagged and look terrible. So we're going to Gaussian blur it again. I'm going to Gaussian blur it 4. And then let's save this as Beaver Displace to my desktop. Hop back here, get rid of this. We've got our background here. We're going to convert the text to a smart object. We're going to go to Filter, Distort, Displace. -25, -25. Now let's do 15 and 15. I don't know. Hit OK. Grab our beaver displacement. And then it displaced it a little bit. I wanted to displace it a lot. Let's do 50 and 50. See what that looks like. This is where you just play around and see what it looks like. So it's taking these individual dots in here, and it's not necessarily moving it around to where I want it to be. So maybe we take this gradient map. We blow it out more like this. Maybe we really blur it like 50. Yeah, like that. So then if we go to the displacement and make it 50 and select beaver displace, it's more just warping to the actual fabric than it is the dots because we blurred it enough to get rid of the dots. And then we can set this to have an underlined tone like that. And now look, we've got text that looks like it's sort of on Go Beavers. So that's another displacement map. Glass, text, and fabric. So there we go. So I've run through everything that has been requested. So in the last 15 minutes or so, if you guys have some questions that you would like answered, shoot them my way right now. And we'll take a look at what they are. Oh, wait. Actually, let's hop over into super cool mode. We'll hang out here. Any questions? Bueller. Okay then, let's just mess around in Photoshop. Let me go back to this original photo we were looking at.
Radiant Man.
That was still on, so that's fun. Color balance is cool. That's something I would probably use more often now. You know what? Let's just... I have not gotten into NFTs at all. A couple different reasons. One, I don't know what I would make. Because a lot of what I do uses just random images from the internet. So I'd have to license those images out, especially if they were athletes. Definitely a lot of licensing issues there. So I'm curious to see what... let's hop over here. I'm curious to see what Tyson Beck does. Because he says he's got some NFTs coming out that he's going to do. So I'll be interested to see if those are more generic based or if they're very specific athlete based. Because there's only so much you can do with images and getting around licensing issues. So that's what I want to know. I mean, there's people out there who are stealing artwork and making them NFTs, which is stupid, and nobody wants that. So I would want to know sort of the legal way of doing that. I don't know who would buy my NFTs. You know, I would have to make them sort of broad. A lot of the NFTs that I see out there now, a lot of it is cool motion stuff. So like, I don't do a lot of motion. So what would I NFT if it's not motion? You know, why would I buy an NFT that isn't motion? Motion's cool. So sort of that thing. I'd have to research into it a little bit more. There's a lot of FOMO going around right now in regards to NFTs. I know some people that have been requested to get NFTs made. So it sounds like a cool thing. It just depends on sort of what people would want in an NFT. You know, what people would want to buy. You're making some, you haven't put them on auction yet. There's also really expensive gas fees to put them up there. You know, it might be $150 to $200 just to put it up for auction, and then maybe someone buys it, who knows. So I think you really have to play to what people are going to want. But there's so much being flooded on there right now. It's hard to say what people are going to buy. Yeah, people buy random stuff. They're investing. You know, I buy sports cards. So I have sports cards, which is, you know, the same thing, just in a physical form. These are just digital. I like having physical copies for things. I have not heard of Beyond the Buzzer. Beyond the Buzzer. Is it an Instagram account? These people have an awful lot of followers. I don't know if I have heard of these people. People are spending, it's collectibles. Yeah, people are, the thing that people are going to want with NFTs are scarce collectibles. So like people who make, CryptoPunks. You know, there's only so many CryptoPunks you can get. It's like Pokemon. You know, there's only so many you can collect, and there's only one of each. They're all one of one, so people want to collect them. Some collect them because they think they're cool. Some collect them because they know, scarcity-wise, it's supporting artists. You know, if one of those artists gets a little bit more famous, you might have something that increases in value. You know, Beeple sold his NFT of his everydays for $64 million. Now, I've heard some people say that there's a lot of money laundering in it. So, like, that's how people can launder money. Oh, I'm going to buy this NFT and wash my money with it and stuff like that. But I don't know how much that is actually true. But the NFTs, if you're not aware, are just non-fungible tokens. They're basically one-of-ones that exist in a digital form, similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a fungible token. Every Bitcoin is the exact same, where non-fungible tokens, every token is different. And there's a lot they can do with it. A lot of what they're doing now is selling artwork and stuff like that, but it goes way beyond that. People are selling tickets to events with it. Sporting teams are going to start probably using them to sell tickets. It'll help know the validity of tickets. If people are selling a ticket, you can have it verified 100% through metadata, stuff like that. So they're interesting. They're going to be cool, and they're going to stay around. People are just getting a lot of FOMO right now of people realizing that they exist and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff people think are dumb that people buy, but like, you know, who wants a piece of artwork from some dead guy on your wall when you can have a LeBron highlight? You know, that's why people are doing Top Shot. You know, people care about LeBron and they're LeBron fans, and they can own this highlight, it's a weird concept. But to them, collecting that piece of history in video form and owning the rights to that, essentially, is what they're passionate about. You know, you can go Google it, that's fine. I can Google what a Mickey Mantle PSA 10 sports card looks like, and I can see it, but that doesn't mean I own it, and then someone has it in a physical form. There's a lot to be discussed on NFTs still too. Yeah, Pet Rock Guy's a millionaire. He sold rocks. It's all about what people are going to buy and scarcity. I mean, that's what people have. Supply and demand. There's only so many supply. They're all one of ones, and there's a lot of demand for it now because people think they can make a lot of money on it. And it's good for artists though, because one, it's authentic, and two, the artist is most likely going to make money every time that's sold. So let's say I make an NFT and sell it for $100. Well, let's say whatever I made the NFT on, something happens and that becomes cool and famous. Someone can sell that NFT for $2,000. Well, I already sold it for $100, so I get a cut of that $2,000 then as well for the lifetime of the NFT. So that's good because, imagine, Van Gogh painting something, selling it to a guy for $15, and now it's worth, $40 million, years later. He's not alive, stuff like that. But it's helping artists make money in a way too, which is nice. I have one other thing. Oh, also with NFTs, they're authentic. They're real. A good question that's been asked on the internet about NFTs is, how many Mona Lisas are there? How many constitutions are there? Is this the actual constitution I'm looking at? I think it's real, but it might not be. When you go to the Louvre, is that the original Mona Lisa? Or when the Mona Lisa was stolen, was it swapped for a duplicate? We don't know. With NFTs, So that's my knowledge of NFTs. There's so much more I don't know about them. There's so much more to learn about them. That's just sort of a broad stroke public knowledge of what an NFT is. So I'm going to be shutting it down soon here. We're coming up at the ending mark. Do you guys have any more questions for me? The 22 of you that are in here. Let's do one more question and then we will end this. And nothing about the Chicago Bears or Andy Dalton, if Garrett is still in here. Which maybe he's not. Oh, there he is. Are you ever going to sell PSDs or ABRs? No. So, I can use these photos for whatever I want, but I don't own this photo of LeBron or whatever that we were using. So I can't technically sell them because I don't own the rights to the photos. I do have a slight workaround for that with my Patreon community. If you guys want to take a look at that, please do. The information is over here, over there at the end, patreon.com/BradleyJackDesign. I've got a community on there. I've got exclusive videos for them. I give them behind the scenes access to my works in progress, some client work I do. As I go along the process of that, they get a little insight about me working with other clients. They see some stuff you guys don't get to see, the general public, for videos, content for them. But they also have a tier on there where you do have access to Photoshop files. So I'm not selling the files, I'm selling you access to them, and that's one tier on there. And pretty much any of my design breakdowns I throw on there. So if you watch a design breakdown, that's on my YouTube channel, those are on there for you to download, play around with. They're the full files, so they're huge that you can use. So that is that. And with that being said, thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, answering some questions for you all. I appreciate that you guys were quick to select your time to spend it with me. I will see you guys next week. We're going to hop back into making a cool design. So if you guys have any suggestions for a tutorial or what you want to see on the next stream, always let me know in the comments below, or you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. It was great having you guys here. Some new faces in here. If you didn't get a chance to watch this live, you can always watch it tomorrow. They are always available next day on my YouTube channel. Other than that, you guys have a lovely night. And I guess make sure to like and subscribe if you guys already have not. But that's going to do it for me.